You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, the 28th of October here, coming up on Halloween. And from looking at the background, you'll see I'm still in the dining area of our new home. Getting my office and studio put together is proving to be a lot more difficult than I anticipated, but we're going to get it in the next few days, really. So we're working as hard on that as we can here. Anyway, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and opinions. Now, the big news is over the weekend, the government announced that ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has been killed. And this time, they really, 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 really mean it. I mean, what is this, like the sixth time they've claimed this guy is dead? And pardon my cynicism, I'm not sure I'm ready to believe this and take it at face value. So they had Operation Obliteration, how U.S. gunships cornered who we are being told was ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi before he dragged 3 of his children with him into a dead-end tunnel and detonated a suicide belt. And I got to tell you, the whole story just stinks to high heaven. I mean, this guy, this is his base. He's going to know what tunnels are dead-ended and what tunnels are not. And Trump, during his speech, made a big deal about this guy, whining and screaming and crying and whimpering. I'm sorry, that sounds so out of character for al-Baghdadi, who has survived several attempts on his life up to this point. And you don't get to be the head of an organization like ISIS without developing a certain toughness of hide. So the story just lacks believability. And they're claiming that al-Baghdadi detonated a suicide belt. Donald Trump said he watched live on a TV link like a movie. Now, already that part of the story is falling apart because a former White House photographer says the photo of Trump watching the strike on ISIS leader Baghdadi was staged because the timestamp in the metadata of that image suggests it was taken 2 hours after the raid was over. If you remember that whole Benghazi situation, we caught them using staged photos for that as well here. Pardon me. So apparently inside the White House, the operation to take out Baghdadi was named Kayla Mueller after the Arizona woman captured, enslaved, raped, and murdered by ISIS. I mean, they're playing for every line of sympathy they can get. This isn't being reported, it's being sold. It just feels like, it feels a lot like when they told us that Osama bin Laden died at Abbottabad, and then they promptly dumped his body in the ocean. We all know the real Osama bin Laden actually died in late 2001 of natural causes, medical problems. So they're out there saying al-Baghdadi died like a dog, whimpering, crying, screaming all the way, and trying to portray them as this incredible coward who deserved to die. And to me, that's another reason to question whether that really was Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi or some poor schmuck who looked like him and got set up as a patsy. Now, on my webpage, whatreallyhappened.com, I reposted James Corbett's 9/11 Explained in 5 Minutes video. And the reason I did that is if you look at the section on the death of Osama bin Laden, it raises questions about the purported death of al-Baghdadi. Because a lot of people were saying, why did you kill Osama bin Laden? He knew all the secrets. He was the best intelligence source for terrorist activity around the globe. The same applies to the guy they're telling us was al-Baghdadi. If it was the real al-Baghdadi, they'd want to take him alive. And if it was the real al-Baghdadi, he would understand that was his ace in the hole. That he could surrender and barter the information he has for good treatment. But that didn't happen. They're claiming he blew up the suicide belt and the cave fell on in, mutilated all the bodies. So at this point, there's no evidence to support this claim. Russian Defense Ministry says it has no proof that Baghdadi has been killed. In fact, they term it as the most recent killing. The number of times that it's been claimed he died. So the Russian Ministry of Defense doubts Trump, and so do I. And one of the things Trump claimed, he was trying to say, everybody helped, everybody shares in the glory here, and we flew over Russian airspace, and Russia assisted us in getting al-Baghdadi, and the Russian Ministry of Defense said, nope, we had nothing to do with this. And you did not have our permission to be in Russian airspace. Even more importantly, we don't have a lot of evidence that you ever actually were. So what is actually going on out here? Well, Trump is trying to reverse his Syria fortunes. He took a lot of heat for starting to pull our troops out of Syria, although now they're on their way back in to seize and protect that oil. And I think that's really what this is all about. Because the American people were saying, look, you're just going into Syria and you're stealing their oil. That's a bad thing to do. That's un-American. So the Trump White House has revived the demonization of ISIS and said, oh my goodness, ISIS is out there and they use the oil to finance their acts of terror. And by the way, I'm going to make a prediction right now. There's going to be some kind of a false flag attack blamed on ISIS to remind us all that they're the bad guys and we're the good guys, and therefore we're justified in stealing that oil from Syria just so that ISIS doesn't get their hands on it. Well, small problem with it. That oil belongs to Syria, not the United States. Okay. Some videos have surfaced from the reported site of al-Baghdadi's death. And even more than Abbottabad, the place is just demolished. There's this huge hole in the ground, this crater. They're saying, yep, that's where he died. Just take our word for it. We have nothing to show you. No body, no DNA. But I mean, let's face it, first of all, we know that the government lied about Osama bin Laden at Abbottabad. That wasn't him. The Guardian had al-Baghdadi paralyzed with a severe spinal injury in April of 2015. Syrian state TV reported him dead in June 2017. Iranian TV said he was definitely dead, and the Russians claimed as much again, all in the same month. July of 2017, he was pronounced dead one more, then alive, and then to clear the matter up, a year later, he emerged from obscurity with a new propaganda video. So we should all hold back until there is more substantial information. I think this was a sales pitch to get the American people to go along with this idea that, yes, we need to go into Syria and we need to steal that oil. We need to control that oil here. So Trump is trying to reverse his fortunes with the Baghdadi raid. He took a lot of heat for pulling the troops out. Took a lot more heat for saying, I'm sending the troops back in to control the oil, to keep the oil. And he said it on his press conference about al-Baghdadi. We want to keep the oil. So the United States is now this international brigand plundering the mineral wealth of Syria. And this is a clear violation of international law. It's flat out looting by the United States of America. So I think that's what this Baghdadi thing is all about, is to convince the American people that somehow this is okay. Now, where it gets a little bit nervous is the Secretary of Defense is out there saying the U.S. troops are being deployed, will strike at any force challenging the occupation. And that's aimed right at Syria, which I'm sure right now is already thinking, let's go back in and take control of that oil ourselves. It's our oil. Tell the Americans to go home. But Syria is not America's war. It never really was. The United States wanted to go on in, execute a regime change. They claimed Assad was gassing his own people. That turned out to be a lie. Then they went on in there and said, well, we're there to fight ISIS. Then ISIS got pretty much wiped out. Now they're trying to bring ISIS back. ISIS rises from the grave more than Hillary Clinton. And not everybody in Washington, D.C. is fully on board with what Trump has done. Many members of Congress are saying they should have been informed. But on this matter, Trump made a valid point during his speech, and that is that Washington, D.C. is the leakiest capital city on earth. It leaks like a colander. He didn't want anybody to know that this was going on until after it was all over. And Nancy Pelosi's out there saying, you should have informed me. You should have informed me all along. Well, Madam Speaker, if I may remind you, you are not part of National Command Authority. And you have no authority to even be read into military operations. So sit down and shut up. Now, the Washington Post took a little bit of heat because in their first reporting on this story, they described Baghdadi as an austere scholar. They also misspelled psychopath. And so they're taking a lot of heat from that. Okay, we're going to take a phone call now from Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, you're absolutely correct on Baghdadi. I believe he was, I think we heard Hillary Rodham Clinton cackle about killing him long ago. I think it was on the campaign trail, 2015. But, Madeleine Albright, the Democrats are forgetting a lot of things. There's been a lot of recordings, a lot of video and testimony. And I remember Madeleine Albright talking about bin Laden and his renal failure, his kidney failure. He was on dialysis a couple days a week, 3 days a week, which is pretty serious stuff. It means your kidneys are really not functioning that well if you're going 3 days a week. But that he had actually died of kidney failure. He was actually going to the Mayo Clinic at one time in the United States while he was still a good guy with the United States. But he actually died in 2001, and she'd spilled the beans on that. And I guess they forget about these videos that are still around with Madeleine Albright saying he's dead. He's been dead for a while. So, killing an old guy with a white beard, it looks like him, and then passing it off. I've always theorized, well, they had to keep this guy alive, even though he was dead, because without an excuse, you can't continue moving into other countries, invading other countries. So they had to keep him alive for that reason only. At some point in time, people started to say, well, wait a minute, are you really winning the war on terror? So then they said, well, we got to give the American people something for their money. They've spent, $4 trillion already. Let's give them this old guy here with a white beard. We'll tell them it's bin Laden and, give them what they want to show some kind of success, mission accomplished type situation. But, Madeleine Albright did say it. She, Secretary of State at the time, he died. He died a long time ago in 2001.
Yep. Even Fox News reported that.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not taking any of this Baghdadi's dead and all this stuff. And, another thing I wrote to you this morning was, why would, if he was dead, why would ISIS or ISIL give the United States any information of who would be next in line to take over the throne?
That's a little suspicious.
You'd want to be in the seat to say it's a shell game. You don't know who it is because now there's no bullseye on anybody. And it would be really stupid to say, well, here's our number 2 man. He's stepping up to the plate. It would be stupid to think so. We wouldn't do that, so why would they? They're not stupid. That's about all I got to say on that. It's phony. It's phony as can be.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel real. And again, it's another illustration about how the U.S. government has this massive credibility problem of its own making, and I don't feel sorry for them.
Nope,
Yeah, they've
not at
already
all.
said that there's this other guy, Abdullah Kurdash. He's the new leader of ISIS. And even though Baghdadi is gone, ISIS is resurgent. ISIS is coming back. Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. And indications are now, at least according to this article in Newsweek, is they're saying that Baghdadi, or who we're being told was Baghdadi, may not have been running ISIS at that time anyway. It was more or less
Right.
semi-retired.
Yeah, it would be not in their best interest to give their hand up and say this is our new guy. It'd be stupid to do so. So, not buying any of it. I've always said that my government is the cheating ex-wife. She's lied and cheated on me so many times. Why am I supposed to believe everything now? Bad track record. So,
Yeah.
no, not buying this one. Not buying it.
Me neither.
That's it.
And
Thanks,
again,
Mike.
I
Appreciate it.
think you got it. And again, I think the White House did this to try and reverse Trump's political fortunes and to sell to the American people that it's okay for the United States to walk into somebody else's country and just swipe their oil because we must keep it out of the hands of the terrorists. Well, how about letting Syria, whose oil it is, take control of that oil and use that revenue to rebuild their country after all these years of being bombed by the Americans? No. We can't let Syria do that. If Syria wants to rebuild, they can borrow money from our Federal Reserve at interest. Let Syria sell Syria's oil? What, are you some kind of a crazy radical? All right, we're going to go back to the phones here to Kevin in West Virginia. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike. Hello, Mr. Mike. I hope you're having a great day. I think
Yes.
it's healthy that we question things like this. I'm
Yes.
kind of on the fence with this whole raid thing, though. For one, here, I'll give you a couple reasons. Yesterday, after it happened, there was media outlet that was giving Trump, flack saying, "Hey, this was a good guy," and he was this al-Baghdadi, whatever his name was a good, was one of the good guys, and he was a good, I don't know what you call it, the Muslim leader people, but, that this was one of the, that type. And then, and then you have the interview with Trump saying, "No, I never told Pelosi." Well, I wouldn't trust, Crypt Keeper Pelosi anyway with any type
True.
of information. She would be the type to leak it to the enemy. Remember, the Democrats were the ones that was funding ISIS and giving them weapons and everything too.
Yep.
But, if Trump were to fake this, wouldn't this give ammunition for the deep state to come out and actually say, "Hey, he's a fraud, he's a fake"? You see what I'm saying? This would be ammunition for them to move forward for this impeachment thing. So that's kind of why I'm on the fence here, because, part of me wants to say, oh, and don't forget, this is the same guy that John McStain had pictures with the guy eating the heart.
Yes.
Same guy.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know if you remember that or not. Same guy. So,
Yes.
what a nice group of people that the Democrats and the Republic thugs, run around with. But I am on the fence just because this could be used against him for impeachment in a way, and show that
Yeah,
this
but
is
you
a
just
staged
explained
event.
why
And
that's not going to happen. You just explained why that's not going to happen. If they start ripping apart the actual relationship between ISIS and elements of the U.S. government, it's going to come back and it's going to burn the Democrats.
yeah, I didn't realize that I explained it like that, but yes, you're right.
Well, I
I
paraphrased.
mean, I just, well, I liked your paraphrase better than my explanation. But I am on the fence, though. But I still think it's healthy that we question, and I think we should
Yes.
question everything. And I also wanted to tell you, I don't know if you've seen it or not. There's a new Vaxxed 2 movie that's coming out very soon, November 6th. I forget
Okay.
the name of it, actually. I think it's called The Parents or the People's something. But, yeah, there's a new Vaxxed 2 movie coming out. And one of the executive directors is the guy that Trump appointed, Robert Kennedy. Is it Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Robert Kennedy Jr.
something?
Yeah. All right, Kevin,
Yeah,
I got
he's
to
one
let
of
you
the
go. We got to
producers
take
of
a
this.
break. I'm glad he got
Okay.
that opportunity. All right, got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And it's worth recalling that ISIS, like its predecessor Al-Qaeda, was actually a tool of U.S. and Israeli foreign policy to destabilize the Middle East. And while their public presentation was that of a new caliphate, their behavior was radically un-Islamic. All the beheadings, the guy in the cage being set on fire. And so it basically means that ISIS was a false flag operation designed to trick us all into hating Muslims. That's what a false flag operation does. Got all these people over here, nice, they're minding their own business, they're worshiping as they see fit. Then you get some paid actor coming on in with a torch and a machete and, chops up a bunch of people. The news media covers it and says, oh, look at those horrible Muslims. That's what ISIS has been doing all this time. I guess they ran out of being useful. I mean, we know that during Obama's presidency, the U.S. was smuggling weapons from Libya to ISIS in Syria, using that consulate in Benghazi as a hub. So turning to look at what's going on in Syria right now, units of the Syrian Democratic Forces are withdrawing from the border with Turkey in accordance with the Russian-Turkish agreement. The Syrian Arab Army has deployed on the Turkish border east of Ras Al Ain. A new Russian military convoy was spotted in the town of Tal Tamr, and another U.S. convoy entered Syria en route to the Omar oil fields. Think about that one for a while. All right, we're going to grab another phone call here. Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, breaking news. Last I was reading, al-Baghdadi's working on Trump's border wall there.
Yeah.
That's as big as a fraud as the... If anybody... I'm sorry, Mike, I'll say it once more. I voted for Trump. Sure, I lean more Democratic. I live in New Jersey, but I voted for Trump. I don't want no more wars. I want the bankers to be taken care of, go to jail, and Hillary Clinton to go to jail, and the deep state go to jail. But come on, folks. If you believe this, then you got rocks in your brain, because this is obviously BS. We saw this story before with Obama, remember? Wrapped up Osama bin Laden like a mummy and dumped in the ocean. Where's the body? See ya. Come on, folks. I mean, see, this is the problem. They can say anything, and 2 months later they'll come out with a video because they have to make it, right? I mean, it takes time. This seemed rushed. And isn't it odd? Like, Trump said he was pulling the troops out of Syria only to go back across the border, take their oil, say, hey, Exxon, come on in. And then this rolls up. I mean, there is some weird crap going on here, and it's just...
Well, they're stealing the oil. I mean, Russia already has a contract with the government of Syria to harvest and process that oil. And now the U.S. is just coming on in. They're sucking it out of the ground as fast as they can, and they're trucking it across the border to be processed elsewhere.